Nigeria, Africa's largest economy and most populous nation, is blessed with 44 types of mineral resources in commercial quantities, which are found in over 500 locations across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Some of these minerals include feldspar, kaolin, limestone, coal, bitumen, gold, columbite, iron ore, emerald, and the list goes on and on. This clearly demonstrates the wide mineral spectrum Nigeria is endowed with, which offers limitless opportunities along the value chain for job creation and revenue generation. Nigeria recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the German mining technology company Geoscan with a view to exploring the accrued mineral resources across the country. Now, what does these MOU portend? What regulations are guiding activities in the sector? And how can the sector be repositioned to contribute to the country's gross domestic product in view of President Tinubu's administration's projection of 50% contribution? Well, these and other issues will be raised and adequately addressed on Weekend File tonight on the network service of the NTA. And my guest is Dele Alake, Minister of Solid Minerals Development. I am Olajide Bello. First, the headlines. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, NSIB, has commenced investigation into the accident involving an HS-125 aircraft belonging to Flint Aero, which occurred at about 8:20 local time on Friday, 3rd November 2023. A statement by the Director of Public Affairs of the agency, James Dowdy, stated that the aircraft with 10 passengers and 3 crew members on board was en route Ibadan from Abuja. The aircraft on final approach to landing runway 22 Ibadan Airport skid off the runway. The statement further explained that there was no fatality as all passengers and crew members were safely evacuated. The National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, is now set to make its products and technologies available in every household in Nigeria in the next few years. This assurance comes as the Executive Vice Chairman of the agency, Khalil Suleiman Halilu, confirms that some tangible products emanating from NASENI's prototypes will be in the market through technology transfer agreements, specifically by first quarter of 2024. Justin Bemwe reports.
Next year's plan is to have NASENI showrooms in the key cities of the country, so that it's not just things you see on the TV, but you can go walk in by yourself and experience the products that we've been talking about.
The new NASENI Chief Executive, Khalil Suleiman Halilu, has come with a vision and direction for the agency that the era of stacking prototypes on shelves has ended. So products and technologies from the agency's research must find their ways to the market.
Ever since we made the announcement, to go into technology transfer, particularly having products in the market, we have been receiving a lot of interest, from private sector organizations that knows the capacity we have, the spread we have, the goodwill we have being a government organization, and how they can partner with us.
So far, NASENI has lots of researches with over 150 products at prototypes level. However, the commercialization aspect is very little. But through technology transfer, the NASENI boss now wants to change the narrative, as it believes the whole essence of doing research is to transform it into meaningful products that will have impact on the economy. Justin Bemwe, NTA News.
And from the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives Committee on Host Communities is calling on the Central Bank of Nigeria to, as a matter of urgency, release to host communities the approved 27.6 billion naira estimated funds generated from gas flaring penalties in compliance with the Petroleum Industry Act. The issue is during a hearing with some of the traditional rulers from the affected communities. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports.
The issue of gas flaring has been a source of concern to the people of the Niger Delta region as it affects their livelihood. Successive administrations have made concerted efforts to assessing the impact and support the affected areas with funds generated from the gas flaring penalties. This hearing is a first interface between the committee and the host communities. They resolve to work closely in the interest of the region and triumph over issues relating to the rights as approved by the federal government.
In addition to the administration of the PIA, there are some referrals pending before the committee in favor of the host community. We are of the belief that this and more set a base for the common good of the host communities.
A week before Buhari left office, we met with him. I have the picture, everything here I'm going to submit. And he asked Malami to approve something. He set up a committee. 27.6 billion was approved a week before Buhari left office. And I'm happy that this committee capitalized on that.
If gas flare, Nigeria staying, will be there, we'll all die. Our children will come up. We're just delaying.
Worried by the leadership tussle of the host communities on how to yield a better result to the social justice cause, the committee resolves to embark on a fact-finding visit to ascertain areas genuinely affected by the problem. From the National Assembly, Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And on the power sector, there are indications that the residents of Ekiti State will soon enjoy improved power supply to boost their economy following the takeoff of the 2.5 megawatt independent power plant project by the state government. The State Commissioner for Information, Taiwo Olatubosun, said this while on media tour of the plant along Bank Road at Ekiti. Ayodeji Ogunshaki reports.
5 megawatt independent power project, which was inaugurated in the year 2021 as a way of addressing the shortage of electricity supply to institutions and private sectors in the state, is now completed and being test run for operation. The State Commissioner for Information, Taiwo Olatubosun, while on the media tour of the power plant, explained that one of the major focus of Governor Biodun Oyebanji's administration was to ensure improved power supply to boost economic activities in the state.
The advantage of this is that our people will have more access to more electricity supply, and which will boost our economy, boost our businesses, and enhance government performances everywhere that will in turn benefit the people of Ekiti State.
The Commissioner for Infrastructure and Public Utilities, Professor Mubola Jaluku, said that 2.5 megawatts power plant will supply electricity to some government facilities within the state capital, while efforts are on to extend the power generation to interested private business owners. The manager of the power plant, Mrs. Odunayo Lanre Bamudu, explained that the power supply has been distributed to some substations within the state capital for easy distribution. From Ado-Ekiti, Ayodeji Ogunshaki, NTA News.
And talking palliative, Dikwa Emirates Council in Borno State has played host to Governor Babagana Umar Zulum in continuation of his statewide Meet the People tour, where he reinforces his post-insurgency development project. Correspondent Muhammad Gone reports that multi-billion naira reconstruction projects and sharing of food and non-food palliatives dominated the outreach of the governor.
Gajibo and Logomani communities in Dikwa and Gala local government areas were dislodged by the Boko Haram insurgents in 2014, compelling residents to flee for safety. At Gajibo community in Dikwa local government area, construction of 500 houses is ongoing.
Maximum in the next 2 months, we shall return people to Logomane, and in the next 3 months, maximum, we shall return people to Gajibo.
The governor noted that the rebuilding work in both communities comprises basic amenities such as primary school, health care center, police station, and deep aquifer borehole meant for provision of water to the communities. Over 15,000 male heads of households receive 1 bag each of rice and maize grains, while each of the 35,000 female got fabric and 5,000 naira cash. While in Dikwa, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum disclosed that his administration plans to support local residents in Dikwa and Gala to cultivate 200 hectares of land under the rural irrigation project.
We decided to earmark 100 hectares of land to be cultivated under the irrigation scheme in Dikwa, 50 hectares of land in Gajibo, and another 50 hectares of land in Gamborungala.
The project, which is part of Governor Zulum's comprehensive agricultural development plan, seeks to revolutionize farming practices, mitigate the effect of climate change, and uplift the livelihoods of residents, most of whom depend on local farming. He emphasized that the irrigation project will involve modern techniques to maximize water usage and minimize wastage, particularly with the impending climate change. In Mapa Town, the governor inaugurated mega-sized Vocational Entrepreneurship Institute, one of the 7 established by the Borno State government to train youth in various skills and trades, in addition to 19 smaller centers spread across the state. In Maiduguri, Mohamed Goni, NTA News.
And to political party matters now. Tinubu's presidency has been described as pivotal in harnessing Nigeria's economic potentials for political stability and development of every sphere of the country. The scorecard was at a press briefing organized by the APC Advancement Group, led by Dr. Olusegun Adeleye. The group says Nigeria is moving at an impressive pace of gradual economic recovery and prosperity of the huge advantage in its population and wealth that's soared across boundaries. Director General of the APC Advancement Group, Dr. Olusegun Adeleye, says, and to further strengthen institutions to drive the process, President Tinubu's choice of ministers was second to none.
President Tinubu, Odon France, as duly elected as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, his commitment to hitting the ground running and delivery of several infrastructural facilities since its inauguration bear eloquent testimony to the stuff the President is made of.
The political organization and the platform of the governing APC urged all key players in the administration of the renewed hope mantra to prioritize patriotism, integrity and fear of God as major ingredients for domestic and foreign recognitions. And on security matters, the need for gender responsiveness in the Nigeria Police Force and the implementation of community policing strategies in Nigeria was brought to the fore at the just concluded conference for senior police officers in Owerri, Imo State. Francis Form reports that about 132 senior police officers attended the Owerri conference.
Nigeria Police Force, being the lead agency in internal security, is tasked with the responsibility of safeguarding lives and property in the various communities. Gender experts at the conference said the need for gender approach in the force became imperative.
My presentation tried to, emphasize the need for gender mainstreaming because that will enhance effectiveness when it comes to security response, issues of gender-based violence, issues of women representation in the security sector.
While community policing experts highlight the concept of community policing, which does not imply that the Nigeria Police Force is no longer in authority, but that the policing takes place with the active support of members of the community.
One of the key components of community policing is trust, which is very valuable for us to have effective community. And of course, it also leads to efficiency in policing.
Participants shared their experience while making valuable contributions during the discussion session. Senior officers and stakeholders from the law enforcement agencies came under one roof to discuss issues that are shaping the nation's security with a view to charting a way forward towards reforming the security architecture. This is the 4th annual conference of senior police officers of the force and the first under IGP Egbetokun. Francis from NTA News.
For being there. With 44 different solid minerals but less than 3% contribution to the nation's GDP is indeed a sad tale. However, the renewed hope agenda of the Tinubu presidency is bringing a ray of hope to the sector with 50% GDP target in solid minerals sector. What are some of the challenges that must be addressed if these targets must be achieved, and the efforts made so far by the man assigned with the responsibility? The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, Mie Ogidi, takes on a journey to yesterday, today and tomorrow in the solid minerals sector.
Nigeria, a country with a landmass of approximately 923,768 square kilometers. Most of its surface is covered with an attractive green vegetation and rich brown earth, depicting nature's abundance. Yet, its true wealth lies beneath, an untapped treasure of almost limitless proportions. 44 solid mineral deposits from the bowels in the mountains in the north down to the swamps in the south.
Look at what's happening in the cement industry. Do we know how many people are employed in the cement industry? They're in their thousands, and they're using just one commodity, limestone and maybe gypsum and the clays.
The views of the professor are appealing, but its revenue not appealing at the nation's treasury. But there are institutional challenges.
There was lack of data, there was lack of infrastructure, there was no really capacity.
And why the sector not making huge revenue?
Mining has a long gestation period, but it's a bit precipitate to start talking about gains in this short term, but there are gains.
But when is the moment of gestation? Here is another era. Ministry of Mines and Steel Development unbundled. Solid Minerals Development and Steel Development. August 2023, another historic moment. Dele Alake is the pioneer minister of Solid Minerals Development Ministry with renewed hope. Expectedly, he hit the ground running by addressing some foundational challenges. 30 days frontal warning to illegal miners to evacuate the mining environment, meetings with the Interior Minister to sanitize the sector of bandits, collaboration with the Federal Inland Revenue Service to improve revenue from the sector, visit to foreign partners on capacity building and to attract investors. Benefits started manifesting. Dele has dug the ground in Nasarawa State as foreign company sets up factory, but two major battles standing tall in the sector: exiting illegal miners and putting an end to the exportation of raw materials.
So we shouldn't allow our borders to be open wide, even for all these minerals to be carted away without the necessary documentation. And so it is not even a matter of whether the government should even give a long notice for that. Any issue, all this illegality in the sector must be addressed.
44 solid minerals nationwide, but contribution to GDP not even up to 30%. But Alake's target is to equal revenue from the solid mineral sector with that of the oil and gas sector.
Every month, conservatively, they get about 40 kg of gold every month from illegal operations, shallow illegal operations, in just one of the fields, in one of the clusters, in Ilesha alone. That's about almost $300 to $400 million naira every month, and that's just from illegal artisanal operation.
As it stands tall, so the dreams. And to achieve this, all dormant licenses issued by the Mining Cadastre Office to be revoked. It is indeed a new dawn in the sector. Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
Joining me in the studio to talk more on the challenges and prospects of the vast mineral resources in Nigeria is Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake. Honorable Minister, you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's go a bit down memory lane. Before fuel was discovered and became the mainstay of Nigeria's economy, what were the contributions of this sector?
Generally, that's a no-brainer. We all know that Nigeria had operated a monocultural economy for several decades through the free flow of oil. and that has led to an indulgent and a permissive social lifestyle. We went on a spending binge, spending spree, and everything that was importable was imported into Nigeria, frittering away, very critical foreign exchange revenue. And so the lifestyle of the average Nigerian became so extravagant, so flamboyant, and the social values, desecrated so flagrantly, such that the economy took a plunge. And now we know that all of that permissive lifestyle led to the total abandonment of other sectors, very critical sectors of the economy that could have generated more than enough revenue and contributed significantly to the gross domestic product of the country, and shaping our social values, back onto the straight line. However, that's history. Now there's a new sheriff in town, and we are being compelled by two fundamental reasons to shift attention and focus onto the solid mineral sector. Number one is economic survival. Because right now in international, in global affairs, economic affairs, the issue of fossil fuel hydrocarbon, which is our oil, petroleum, is going down. Right now, if you recall, there is electric vehicles, the emergence of electric vehicles all over the world, especially in the developed societies. In certain developed societies, they reckon that in the next 10 years or so, you hardly find petrol vehicles and all of that fossil fuel hydrocarbons. So what it means is battery-operated electric vehicles are on the rise. What that means is that the demand for our oil will necessarily plummet. And when that plummets, the revenue accruable to the country nosedives, and the country will find itself in dire straits. So economic survival imperative has compelled us to now shift attention to other critical sectors of the economy, like the agriculture, and most importantly, the solid mineral sector that has been seriously neglected and abandoned for so long. The second important reason is the global clamor for climate change and the energy transition into green energy and clean energy. And what are the ingredients of clean energy? Gold, lithium, coal, other solid minerals, critical metals that we have got in abundance in Nigeria. So what it means is that if we sanitize the environment of the solid mineral sector and make our solid minerals to become the cynosure of global eyes and make Nigeria the destination for solid minerals, our revenue will start shooting up, because the critical minerals that we have are in global demand, and the demand will continue to rise as long as there is this continued effort in diverting global attention from fossil fuel into green energy. That's what we call the energy transition, and that's what we have in abundance in Nigeria. So for these two fundamental reasons, attention has to be shifted to the solid mineral sector. And if you know President Bola Ahmed Tinubu very well, he's a man of ideas who thinks out of the box. And he knows that we must begin to really efficiently, proficiently, and judiciously exploit these are God-given resources in the solid mineral sector to contribute meaningfully to the GDP of Nigeria. So to achieve this, of course, there are challenges. We have rolled out, like you said in your opening remarks, we hit the ground running. I rolled out a 7-point agenda, which is number one, the generation of big data, geoscientific data. We need the generation of geoscientific data so as to enable us identify where these solid minerals are, the quantity that are available of the deposits in the various locations of Nigeria. And this data, which will be internationally certified by the international data agencies, will enable investors to have bankable projects, studies, and proposals and projects that they can take to the bank and solicit or elicit revenue funds with which to explore, exploit, extract, add local value, or export. And all of this will add revenue to the coffers of the government. And there are so many other issues and areas that we need to go into, which I will enumerate as we go on.
All right, many thanks, Honorable Minister. You just mentioned that there's a new sheriff in town, which basically all of us are aware. Now, how is the sector faring so far, and which of these mineral resources should enjoy more focus by the federal government?
That has been said times without number. I have said that at various fora, that this new government has shifted attention to the solid mineral sector, and that's necessarily telling us that there is federal government support and attention to this sector. In fact, about a week ago at the last Federal Executive Council, the framework of the policy of the federal government on the solid mineral sector was approved by the Federal Executive Council, and I did address a press conference at the end of the FEC to enumerate and elaborate on these various policy measures that the government is embarking upon and is going to implement assiduously and with dexterity to ensure the efficiency of delivery. And I mentioned the issue of generating geodata, geoscientific data, in order to attract foreign investors, because without the data, you can't expect investors, even local investors, to just come and start operating blindly. They must be able to know that in this area or in this location or on this site there is deposit, and in what quantity, to ensure that their investment will not be in jeopardy if they just went into any site and start exploring. So data is very, very critical, is very important, and we are doing that. And that was what led to our signing an MOU last week in fact this week, the beginning of this week, with the German Geoscan company, which has a proprietary technology in exploration. Now that technology can enable you to see 10,000 meters deep down on the ground to identify the kind of mineral that you have there, and in fact tell you the kind of quantity that you have there. And that's going to take us to the next level. It's going to really, in fact, immediately we signed that MOU and it became a newsworthy item. A lot of interest has been generated, both from within and without. You know, a lot of investors are showing interest. And I did say a few days ago at our retreat that on an average day, I receive nothing less than 50 investors, potential investors, making inquiries, getting interested, wanting to come and operate in a solid mineral sector. And of course, we know that means, what that means is that a lot of effort is yielding results. Now, the geoscientific data that we're going to generate through the MOU that we signed with the German Geoscan company is going to put Nigeria on a global map of the solid mineral sector. Now, the second thing is that the challenge, or thought that the challenge we face is security. You recall, and you mentioned it in your opening remarks, that I reeled out policy.
Honorable Minister would go more into that. Let's just quickly take a break. Weekend Fire continues shortly. Thanks for being there, and I still have my guest with me in the studio, the Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alake. But just before we continue the discussion, let's quickly take this report. Exploring bitumen deposits in Ondo State is a driver to boosting Nigeria's revenue generation, as well as create skilled and unskilled jobs for the youth. Professor Peter Allah of the Department of Applied Geology, Federal University of Technology, Akure, while speaking with Kayode Olorundare on how Nigeria can boost its revenue accruals from bitumen, says the time is now for government to synergize with experts on the benefits derivable from the natural resource accessibility.
Bitumen, discovered at Agbabu in Irele local government area of Ondo State, dated to the year 1900, with 42.47 billion tons unexplored. Bitumen, also known as tar sand, is a sticky black substance that is derived from the processing of crude oil. Bitumen is extensively used for the construction and maintenance of roads, pavements, paints and inks, and many more.
State and the federal government should work on it to ensure that we bring out the bitumen deposit for the benefit of the people. So in order to improve government revenue, now bitumen is going to be a giant source of revenue if it is exploited.
It should be a good thing for government to come around to come and exploit this deposits for the economic enhancement of our people.
Peter Ola of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, said it is better late than never.
If we still insist on developing bitumen, I think the first step is to train people along that line. We don't have specialists. Don't have them. All the people you are just hijacking ideas here and there. But when you train them, you take proper care of them, before you know it, in 5-6 years' time, we start making money from bitumen.
Nigeria, particularly Ondo State, boasts of the highest concentration of bitumen deposits in West Africa. In Akure, Kayode Olorundare, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the recent influx of foreign investors into Nasarawa State to exploit lithium has further boosted the mining sector and reaffirming the status of Nasarawa as one of the leading solid minerals endowed states in the country. Aliu Tijani takes a look at the new investment drive for the mining sector in the state.
Nasarawa, standing tall on the list of solid mineral endowed states and often referred to as the home of solid minerals. But stakeholders say not much is achieved over the years. Now, there is a new drive by the government to maximize the abundance of solid minerals in the state, as both federal and state government are on the same page that all solid mineral exploited be processed in the country.
I want to call on all our investors. No other company will be given a license until that company will at least carry out post-set processing of the mineral here.
The policy is yielding result, with the first lithium processing plant currently under construction in Nasarawa local government area to mine and process large quantities of the mineral deposited in the state, with more foreign investors willing to do business in the mining sector in the state. However, activities of illegal miners remain a challenge, but there is a synergy between federal and Nasarawa state government to coordinate the informal sector in order to block leakages in revenue collection as well as regulate their activities in compliance with the environmental laws.
When you profile them, you put them under cooperatives, you give them funding so that you improve what they are doing. With that, they're going to check insecurity.
With reforms underway, mining sites like this will have prospect of land reclamation as investors are expected to present plan before going into mining. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
Aliu Tijani, many thanks for that report. Now let me go back to my guest in the studio. Honorable Minister, before we went on a short break, you were talking about security. What is the ministry doing to tackle, illegal mining, and do you have collaborations with security agencies?
Yeah, thank you very much. I was saying that the illegal mining issue has been with us for ages, and you really can't eradicate it in one fell swoop, with a stroke of the pen. You have to be ingenious and be creative with it. And so we came up with this idea of formalizing them. What we call the illegal miners, artisanal miners, are driven into that venture for economic survival. So rather than calling them illegal miners, I have given them a 60-day ultimatum. The first one was 30 days. And when we saw that the response was encouraging, because we asked them to form themselves into cooperatives so that they become structured, they become formalized, government can recognize them, they can continue their trade legitimately, and then they can become bankable, and then they can pay the necessary royalties or taxes to government. So it's a win-win situation. And when we saw the encouraging response to that call which I made, we extended the the deadline so as to accommodate more of them that are willing to come into the formalized sector. So that is one side of it. The other side is a coercive measure, and that entails, I've been working with the security agencies. We need to rejig our security architecture to ensure that we inject a large dose of technology into our security apparatus so that they can become more effective and efficient in combating not just the illegal activities, the mining activities, but the banditry, the terrorism that are associated with mining. For example, it may interest you to know that a lot of the banditry and terrorism that take place, all over the country are traceable to sponsorship by prospectors. And I'll tell you how. These, especially some unscrupulous foreigners, they come in with large amounts of money, they recruit the jobless youths and arm them and unleash them on the unsuspecting communities where they must have decided that solid minerals, whichever type, either lithium or gold or any other type that is critical, that such communities have large deposits. So when they unleash banditry on these communities or terrorism, the inhabitants flee. And once they flee, these prospectors move in and start exploring and exploiting solid minerals. So we found out through intelligence reports that these people are directly responsible for the upsurge of banditry in several parts of Nigeria. So that is why I've been working with the security agencies, myself and the national security advisors. We've been having meetings on this. I've spoken directly to the chief of army staff. I'm working with the police. It's going to be an inter-security agency structure. At the outfit we are coming up, and the president is fully in support of this. In fact, we are going to create a special police outfit. We'll call it the Mining Police Force, or Mine Police. It is not just going to be restricted to the mining sector. There's likely going to be specialized police in some other sectors like the blue economy sector, the maritime police, the mine police, and all of that. So with this specialized police outfit, which will be directly controlled by the Ministry of Solid Minerals, and the security personnel will be answerable to us, with a lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of injection of technology, I don't want to go into the details of the technology, the type of technology that we're introducing, so as to combat anybody wanting to circumvent, But I can assure you that plans have gotten to a very advanced stage in injection of this technology into the revamped, rejigged, and restructured security architecture. And that is going to help us, it's going to go a long way in combating illegal mining, insecurity that is around the mining sector. And don't forget too, that to attract foreign investors, we need the big players into this sector. Just like the oil industry, you need the big players to inject a large dose of foreign resources into it, because it is an expensive business. So for the foreigners, for the foreign investors to come in, security is paramount. It's a sine qua non, because you must create the enabling environment for a secure operating environment for these foreign investors, including the local investors as well. So plans are on and at an advanced stage for the revamping of the security architecture to combat all of these illegalities, atrocities that are being committed in that sector.
Okay, Honorable Minister, talking about investments now, maybe local and foreign investors, what does it entail to get verified government licenses for mining in Nigeria?
Thank you very much for that question, because it is also part of my 7-point agenda. When I came in, I discovered that a lot needs to be done in terms of the licensing processes. So we are going to actually overhaul the entire licensing processes, from application to allocation to processing, and the whole gamut of the license processes we are going to revamp, we are going to overhaul, and we are going to increase the needed technology into that particular department, so that it will create an ease of doing business for prospective investors. Like if you want, we are going to create what we call a one-stop shop, that just on a desk, you can get the necessary amount of information you need that will cover the entire stretch of the value chain of the mining sector, from application of for licensing, to determining the site, because we have unveiled a geodata map of Nigeria, a new one, but that's not the most comprehensive, which was why I said we signed an agreement with the Geoscan company of Germany, to come and increase the technology in generating big data, big geoscientific data. Now, that one-stop shop will enable you at a glance to know the processes that you have to go through, so that you don't need to be going from one department to another and wasting time, valuable time. That one-stop shop will just tell you how you should do it, what you should do, the requirements, how to get your licenses. And the licenses, after completing your applications legitimately, must not take more than 30 days for your licenses to be issued. So all of these things are going to be done. It is important to revamp and overhaul the licensing processes to enable a conducive atmosphere and the ease of doing business, and attract local and foreign investors into the mining sector. That's just one of it. Another thing that I've discovered, which is also critical, is the involvement or engagement of these critical stakeholders in the mining sector. For instance, the host communities where these deposits occur, they have to be taken into account. They have to be factored along. They have to buy into the project, so that there will be peaceful atmosphere of operation even when you are licensed, so that there are no local insurgencies and infractions or insurrections disturbing operation of mining in any particular area. So we are engaging the host communities, and more importantly to the state government. In fact, if you recall, a few weeks ago, there was a rash of pronouncements by some states on mining, making policy pronouncements. And that compelled me to coming out boldly to say that, look, we have constitutionalism in Nigeria. There are clear delineation of authorities, political authorities, in the constitution. Everything that is in the exclusive legislative list belongs to the federal government. Those in the residual list belongs to the state.
Honorable Minister,
on and on like that. So I'm engaging with the governors. I've had several meetings with the governor. Some of them have come to me in the office, and we've been able to resolve all of these issues so as to create a very peaceful, environment in the mining sector for maximum contribution to the GDP of Nigeria.
Okay, Honorable Minister, I know there are still many questions yearning for answers, but very quickly, your final thoughts on these low-hanging fruits waiting to be fully tapped to contribute its quota to the growth of the Nigerian economy.
Thank you very much. Funding, you mentioned the issue of funding. That's a low-hanging fruit, because I said earlier on that this sector is capital intensive. And even for us to encourage local investors, because we need the local investors as much as possible, I did make an announcement that we're not going to be issuing licenses to the big players if they do not have a plan for local value addition. And we're not going to allow our critical metals, minerals, to be carted out of the country indiscriminately without adding local value. And that is why you saw me and the governor of Nasarawa State at the groundbreaking ceremony in Nasarawa for a lithium processing factory. That factory will be producing batteries, and it will process about 16,000 metric tons of lithium per day. That's a low-hanging fruit. And because of all the conducive factors and measures that we have been putting in place in that sector, a lot of interest has been generated, and we are seeing the results.
Honorable Minister, many thanks. I know you have loads and loads of information for us. We do appreciate you coming on Weekend File. And my guest has been the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake. Many thanks for your input.
Thank you for having me.
You're still watching Weekend File. Weekend File continues shortly. Don't go ahead. Glad to know you're still there. Now, Arsenal suffers first defeat as Newcastle earns 1-0 victory at home. For details of other English Premier League results and other sport reports, let's join Bright Ebochu.
Action resumed Sunday in the match day 7 fixtures of the Nigerian Premier Football League as Bendel Insurance play host to Remo Stars at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, Benin City. Enugu Rangers will lock horns with Heartland in our rental derby at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, Enugu. Gombe United will tackle Doma United. Akwa United will slug it out with Plateau United, while Shooting Stars will seek to take advantage of playing at home to overcome Niger Tornadoes. Still on football, in the English Premier Football League, Manchester City took Bournemouth to the cleaners as they trashed them 6-1. Brentford beat West Ham 3-2. Manchester United continued their poor form as they lost 0-1 away to Fulham. Away from football, Nigeria is one win away from automatic qualification for the women's hockey event at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games after they set up a final showdown against host South Africa on Sunday. Nigeria defeated Zimbabwe 2-1 in the quarter-final before recording a lone goal victory over Kenya on Friday to set the country for another appearance at the Olympics in 20 years.
But they know the board tried. They kept them in camp for 2 months and the spirit was high. Even we had some delays here.
The runner-up in Sunday's final will have to play an intercontinental playoffs match to have any realistic chance of qualifying for the games. In golf, Justina Kegbe is still overwhelmed as she emerged overall winner of the Nessie Golf Tournament with a handicap of 34 and 44 points. The two-day event, which was held at the IBB International Golf and Country Club Abuja, had over 120 participants with the objective of creating harmonies that can drive the power sector.
In the last 3 days, we've been having symposium where we are looking at the journey so far. What we could do differently, what we can do to improve on our performance.
For Sports Update, Bright Ebochu, NTA News.
And that concludes Weekend File. Many thanks for being a part of it. I am Olajide Bello.